Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the crew here.
Dave.
Nate.
And today we have a GM 911 from Sam Everson. His players are about to go on a sea voyage, and he wants to know, how do we handle the mechanics of it? How do we handle the food stores and all that kind of stuff? So what do you guys think? How do we?
Well, I almost got the impression that he wants to run a long-standing campaign with the ship as a main feature for it.
Okay.
And so, he wants to. Has a couple questions. Should my players have? Should they be the ones manning the ship? Should they be able to hire a crew?
Right.
How do I handle the mechanics of the ship itself?
Well, I think the question of, should they be able to hire a crew and this and that, that's totally up to the players. If they feel that they aren't skilled enough at manning a ship, that they want to hire them, I got no problem with that. If they want to do it themselves, have at it.
Unless they're wealthy enough to buy a ship, I don't see a captain going, "Oh yeah, sure, you people that walk on the land all the time, you can totally crew my ship." I don't see that happening, so I kind of would say, unless they got a burning passion to do it, or one of them's previously a sailor, I don't see any of them manning the ship. I see them kind of being told that they have to participate in things that need to be done. Like if there's a rope
Part of
repair,
their fare.
yeah, rope. Like if there's a mage that's got mending, well, his finger's gonna be tired from pointing at stuff after that voyage.
Mend the sails, mend the ropes.
Yeah, mend this, mend that. He's like, wait, so you can just point at this stuff and it happens? All right, we got a job for you.
Well,
hold your arm like this.
There's a couple things here. One is, obviously, unless your party consists of about 30 people, you actually have to have crew on the ship.
That's also
true.
a good
That's
point.
true.
So
there's that.
Because for a long journey, you're going to have a ship, a sizable ship, because it has to store all your stuff that you need to take.
Yeah, you don't want to be taking a dinghy, across the ocean. It's probably a bad idea.
And you need people, for essentially all shifts.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to man the wheel. Somebody needs to, maintain sails. Somebody needs to be in the crow's nest.
So you could, either do it as, they're just, you could, depending on how the campaign starts, you could have them actually just be part of the crew. And they're the ones that kind of step up. You could totally Andrew Knapp this SR2 Joker and go, you have skill in this thing, and just give them the proficiency. Mm-hmm. For the most part, it's not particularly game breaking. If you just wanted to add that extra thing,
one proficiency in one part of the ship, yeah, not a big deal.
So you could do that, or you could do as Nate said, and just they're just passengers on the ship.
Participating passengers, but passengers all the same.
Now, as far as the mechanics of the ship, you can go into that as deep or as little as you want to. It can really just be the backdrop.
Right.
You don't have to make this more difficult than it is. You can just story in damage to the ship if an encounter happens that you feel it's necessary. You just don't need to stat everything out.
Right.
You can, but you don't need to.
Especially because, as the DM, you're going to be statting something, and you're going to be damaging it, so it's kind of like, just make it how damaged you want to have it be damaged.
Right.
Don't sit there and roll like, oh, the giant squid has done this much damage this turn to it.
If your players need to hear that you did, it took 50 points of damage, tell them it took 50 points of damage. What does that even mean?
So it broke off some rails and it cracked something on the stern or whatever. Okay, well, maybe you have a leak.
It's going to take 4 days to repair.
Yeah.
In response to the supplies, and I really feel that if you're out on the sea for a long period of time, part of it is food stores that you bring with, and part of it is your fishing, hunting, netting to bring in other meats, because you kind of need more than just hardtack.
Yeah, the biggest problem is when you're at sea is water.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they do some things with trying to catch rainwater whenever they can.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, they bring barrels of water.
If you happen to have a spellcaster and you've got create water, then you get to alleviate that problem.
You just need a storm sorcerer with you. Bring a storm sorcerer.
yeah, step 1, bring a storm sorcerer.
Beat or bring one.
Step 2, have someone that has create water.
Yeah.
Is that a first level spell or a cantrip, though?
I believe it's a first level spell.
Yeah, so
you can only get so much.
You can only get so much.
Right.
People would be on water rations with one spellcaster doing it, but
Yeah.
Unless they just were like, I'm going to use all of my spells for the day and bump
But
up.
you're not going to have an encounter every single day. So
This is true, yeah.
You have the ability to say, okay, well, before I go to sleep, I'm going to make tomorrow's water.
Yeah, and hopefully I don't get eaten by a giant whale or something.
Yeah. Well, but then again, while you're dying of thirst, you're like, I could save these spells for the monster I may fight, or I could have a drink of water and not die of dehydration.
Yeah, this is true.
It's tough choices you got to make when you're out on the sea.
I would say if you want to get more authentic food stores, you can kind of research what they had in like several hundred years ago and what they brought. So that's what I would
to
go
Google.
with. Yeah, Google 15 minutes of Google, and you can have a very authentic ship trip. I think when it comes to food.
But so basically, my advice is if you want it to be a long voyage, then you need to plan out. Okay, well, if every session is going to have some exploration, some combat, and some role playing, you need to figure out how are you going to fill those elements. Is the party diving into the water? Are they taking a smaller boat out to some kind of external location, or is the exploration just totally how you're sailing on the water? But I mean, you want to have some of that in each of your sessions. And if you're going to go through multiple sessions while they're on the boat, you just need to get that figured out.
I think an ocean-going vessel, you're going to have smaller secondary rowboats.
Yeah,
that's how you anchor in a bay or something, and you do that and go to shore.
On the boat itself, though, like you're going to have you basically, like we said, a little bit of research, and you can flesh out the ship, which is really important if it's going to be a major feature. You want to be able to describe different things. If there are things that are kind of fantastical about it, or stand out-ish about it, you want to be able to describe those. You want to figure out how many people are actually on the boat and crewing it, figure out if any of them are kind of like important NPCs that they're going to interact with, and then you can just come up with like a list of names to pull from whenever you want, and like if the players interact with that person, jot down some notes about it.
Absolutely.
And during terrible encounters, kill some of them off. It doesn't have to be the guys they like. There's just like a list of like 2 or 3 guys who just didn't make it last night because of something terrible, or they got dragged below water, or they fell overboard and were never seen from again.
Every once in a while, it should be one of the guys they like.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, just don't. All the NPCs that you kind of like grew a relationship with the PCs, don't just kill them all off because you're like, oh, now I need to have other NPCs interact with these guys.
Well, yeah, but then it does create the dynamic for the other crew to kind of step up and fill that role, and now they kind of have to because there's less of them.
Yeah,
is one of the things as well.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it adds more realism when there's 30-something people in an encounter and no one dies. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I always kind of relegate that stuff to the back. I really don't want to run the encounter with the NPCs doing, fighting the monster.
Oh no, you get like crushed by a tentacle, like that was just wrapping itself around the ship, or
like if you actually go to
you fall overboard during the battle just because you fell overboard.
If you look at the Pirates of the Caribbean where they're actually fighting the Kraken, you do have non-central characters that are running in each direction, being knocked off the ship, being grabbed by a tentacle. So I think it's important to say, okay, well, the central monster has 3 tentacle attacks, so it's going to attack the players for those. But there's nothing to say that there couldn't be a couple extra tentacles that are doing something to the ship, to the non-player characters in the background.
Yeah, just story that shit.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about rolling to hit and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just being like, look.
Well, no, you know what? Because I'm guilty of this, of like having stuff go on and there's other people around, and then like the other players are always like, well, what are other people doing? Aren't they helping us? No, they're not. Do you want them to take all your XP?
Well, I did a giant battle, and there was cantrips shooting and crossbow firing and longbow firing and rangers shooting things, but I just said, oh yeah, this percentage of them hit is the way I did it. So every round, I rolled some damage for some arrows, and that was it.
No,
that was the help. I didn't sit there and roll all the attacks and be like, all right, these 100 people did this
You,
round.
you can just, again, as you said, narrate what happens, what you would like. If you want the background people to be quote unquote helping,
They are, just not in a meaningful way. They're very red shirting it.
Well, yeah, and if so, the Kraken has 50 extra hit points, and those people did that damage to that.
yes, exactly.
Like you said, you're talking about not even. Be like, yeah, they're doing stuff.
They're doing stuff,
but I'm like, okay, so
they
what?
did blue amount of extra damage. So
The color blue. That's how much they did.
No people sitting around the gaming table want the DM to sit there and roll for the 10 NPCs in the background to figure out how much whether they hit, how much damage they did, and whatnot. It takes too long. Combat at times takes even longer than we want it to. So to sit back and to have it take longer because you want these elements that, oh no, the people want to try and save you or save themselves, it detracts from the whole thing. So you just narrate it and move on.
It's almost like in a movie when there's this whole big thing going on, but the camera kind of like pans in and just focuses on this one group, where everything else kind of blurs out.
And then you got the guys in the background going like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, I didn't pan in close enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's wearing a Rolex. This is a medieval story. How does that even happen?
There is totally a scene in Braveheart where you see that.
I was referencing that exactly.
Yeah. So there's definitely some things there that you can work with, and also we did do actually a video on traveling.
Right.
So you can do a YouTube channel search for that, and maybe I'll even put.
And we also did one on battles, and what we thought about doing.
From our Unearthly channel.
So that might also be something to look at as well.
Yeah. So by the about on our homepage, there's a little search feature, and if you put whatever in there, mass combat or adventurers traveling, more than likely those videos will come up, and you can just go right to them, because I'll probably forget to put an annotation in or put a link in the description. So hopefully we was it Sam
Everson.
Yeah, so hopefully we covered all of Sam's questions and helped him with this GM 911. Guys, down in the comments below, help Sam out, give him some of your ideas while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Also, check out Nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.